I'm going to introduce the session. We're here to have fun. This is going to be a little bit of crazy. So I expect to get some session evaluations that say this was either the best thing you ever saw or a complete waste of your time, okay? If we're anywhere in the middle, we haven't done our job. So Adam is helping us with AV, right? And I think I about gave him a heart attack because I said we're going to have like 7 different demos and we're going to be ripping things in and out and changing mics. And so we're all going to give Adam a big round of applause for helping us do this logistically. All right, thank you. Okay, second thing I want to make an announcement. You guys paid for an entire seat. You're only going to need the edge of it. And there's a lot of empty seats here, okay? So I want everybody, come on in. We're all friends. All right, so this is the BI Power Hour. I joined Microsoft about 14 years ago and got to be in a Power Hour early. The idea here is to come and do really fun demos to end the conference with a lighthearted bang, but also hopefully we're doing some analysis that's cool, right? It's worthwhile. Maybe you'll see something. We haven't done this. I haven't been involved in a few years, so we'll see how this goes, and then we'll take your feedback. Is everything we do what we really want to improve? The first thing, however, before we get into the demos we're doing, so let me actually switch over to the projector, which is 8. Okay. All right. To kick this off, we did a data analysis. So this is the demos we're going to do first, and then I'll go to my thing. So I'm going to do a quick demo, and I'll introduce what I'm going to do. Then Carlos is going to blow your minds. Ankit, Will, Johnny, Matthew, and if time, Paul is going to bring it home, okay? All right. So before we do that, though, we did a data analytics competition this year. We didn't do one last year. What we wanted to do, we want to do this every year, is give everybody in the community an opportunity. You can either be attending the conference or not, a chance to put together some analysis and some different topics. We provided data sets or pointers to data sets. I wanted to show off a couple of these, and then we're going to announce the winner of the data analysis competition to kind of get us going here in the whole Power Hour mindset. So the 3 categories, the advanced analytics category was taking the American Time Use Survey. It's a data set I've always wanted to do a bunch of analysis on, and I've never had time. They actually do a census here in the US that records what enough people do to get by gender, by all the demographics, age, location, how you actually spend your day, right? And so how much you're getting paid. This is a fascinating thing. You can look at the actual timeline of when you wake up, when you go to sleep, how much food you eat, these kind of things. And so that was one category. To see who could do analysis there. Another one was a data prep scenario, which is I had done a demo a few years ago with, it turns out the state of Hawaii makes all of their tourism data available, but like any government institution, they put it in flat files and it's hard to mash together and it's kind of weird. So we did that one, and then we did Just for Fun, which is, there's a great data set of all the Simpsons data, right? And the submissions just blew our minds. So Kamal, Amir, and I sat yesterday and went through all the submissions and picked winners. We're very happy, so everybody who submitted something will be getting one of the prize packs from the community lounge where you get a gift card to the Microsoft Store, so we want to make sure everybody who took the time to submit something is going to get a nice little binny for doing that. And then we picked winners for each category, and the winners for each category we're actually going to provide free conference passes for next year, right? So a pretty good prize. So next year, right, we announced this sucker. You guys want to see some submissions. We'll tell you why this matters to us, too. So I want to actually show a couple of these. So first, for the data prep one, there's just some gorgeous, gorgeous submissions here. So this is, and actually, I went back and actually wanted to make sure that either of the 2 I want to show, I just said, hey, you guys aren't actually doing this for the Hawaiian Tourism Authority and like double dipping. You're like getting paid to do this, and then you just submitted your actual work for the Hawaii Tourism Authority. But what this does is it actually has all the information of demographics, where people are traveling from. When you go to Hawaii, you fill out a little survey card. So they have all that information, where you're traveling from, what island you went to, how much money you spent. And we'll be posting all of these submissions up to the gallery so you can go play with them. And these are just some gorgeous examples of what you can do with Power BI. And so then I want to switch over to this guy here, which is from Altus. And again, just some like really gorgeous things. And to make this a little more fun for the Power Hour, and because I just couldn't help myself, I really said there's a dip right here, and I wanted to say, what happens if we explain the decrease right here? And it turns out, so it looks like everything was pretty flat, but was, Japan, US West, and US East. So the reason I wanted to show that, so that's the feature we showed in the keynote, and I think Kim showed it during her session as well, is one of the reasons we want to do this is actually get a bunch of different people to go model the same data so that when we're trying to figure out how to do some of these AI features, we actually have some good stuff to work with as a team. So now we have about 10 different models on a couple of these different data sets that we can actually go play with and see what's working, what's not working. Does this feature make sense? Because it's easy for us to take sample data and make some kind of AI work on it. But we want to be able to get a head start on some of the data you created. And so the other call to action here was to get these data models to give us something to party on. So these are just some gorgeous reports, right? We were really, really impressed with them. But when you put a call to action for people to create reports about The Simpsons, apparently people take it to the next level. I was a little taken back going through these. And this was a hard judging competition. And I apologize for not calling out the entries' names. If you guys put them on the cover page, I'll do a better job. But it's kind of hard to keep track because I kind of got all these files with the same name. But this is, the ultimate Simpsons infographic. Ryan, was it Ryan? I was talking to him today who did this submission. Greg, yes. And so what I loved about this is if I come over here, Greg actually, you can pick any episode in the history of The Simpsons and hit play, and it's actually playing back the script of The Simpsons episode. Did I hit play correctly? Yes. So it's actually going through, and I remember this episode. They're like a Miss America competition at the beginning, and we're learning, and yeah, I can even hear the song that's being sung right now, like I was 17 or something. And so it's just amazing to see the kinds of awesome stuff people are doing here. I'm going to do something that the devs probably will hate me for, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I'm going to do something, locations. No, where was my episodes? Infographic. No, it's a different report. Sorry, that's what it was. So one of the other ones that I have to call out here, mainly because I saw this and the donut boy just made me, it just was delightful. Was absolutely delightful. And I have all these files open, and this hasn't been consistent because we're still like tuning how these algorithms work. But it turns out running the insights here, this is looking at all the scripts of word counts done at the Simpson home, so filtered to the Simpsons home. So what's some insights about the Simpsons home? And obviously the Simpson family does the most. Percent of dialogue, apparently this is the number of script lines by location. So we have the Simpson home, Springfield Elementary School, Moe's Tavern, the Springfield Nuclear Plant. Good, it came up good. The ranking is still a little bit, I want this to rank at the top now. I need to say, I love this insight. So this is, apparently inside of the Simpson home, men account for almost twice as many word counts. So the words, this is how many words that men in the Simpson home said versus women. Further down, there was another insight that if you look at percent of dialogue, which we talked about, which is the number of dialogue lines, it actually inverses, which means that Bart and Homer are speaking more words in short sentences than Marge and then Lisa and Marge. I think that's what that means. But anyway, so the point is thank you guys. You've given me hours of interesting things to go follow up with on The Simpsons. Really, really happy. But the one, and then I guess got to keep showing. I mean, these are just like the season analysis, sentiment analysis, IMDb ratings. The amount of work that went into these is just like, obviously some people had some fun time doing what they, this is real work. They're entering a competition for their job. But finally, I got to show this one. This is a custom visual. The Aware group guys, they did AI to train basically a bot, but to do a bunch of generated script lines. So they took a bunch of different characters and said, here's a script line that was generated by the AI, and here's a script line that was actually said in the episode, and you can come in their report and vote. So we'll see Hooky or Brambles. By Marge, we're going to guess, and I was wrong, okay? So I'm going to guess I heard him. Wrong again. Jeez, I guess gesturing Storak. That sounds terrible. That can't be real. All right, I got one right. And so this is a custom visual that they put together just for Power BI that allows me to play a game where I vote and see the updated stuff. So, hey, so I want to give a round of applause for everybody that submitted something here. Just a really amazing stuff. So with that, I'm going to announce the winners. of the competition, and we showed all three of these. So Scott Ferguson was from the Advanced Analytics Challenge. Rashi Sapra from the Data Prep, that was the Altus of Hawaii report we looked at, and then Kane O'Donnell in the Aware group. I'm just announcing the name of the people who did the submission to keep it straight, which was that custom visual where you could vote at the end there. So those are the winners. So come see me afterwards, and if we don't connect, we'll make sure you guys get your free pass. If you're here and you did the submission, also come see me so we can get your prizes to you. So, all right, so hopefully that got us kicked off really quick. I'm going to hand it off to these other guys here that are much better demoers than me, but I'm going to do one last blast from the past. Anybody remember the King of the Hill demo Amir Netz did where he's like screaming about Mariah Carey? Oh, yeah? We didn't ship that, and it was like one of my biggest regrets in software is that we built this cool visual, and we didn't actually get it out the door because we switched from Silverlight to the new Power BI right when we finished that, so it was done, but we decided not to ship it. And so with some help from friends from Microsoft Research, we have that visual recreated. So I'm going to come back. So instead, I'm looking at our movie data here that we use for the demo. And so this is looking, as of 1985, this is worldwide gross for actors. So you can see Sylvester Stallone, it was actually in Rambo and Rocky in that year. So he's the king of the hill as of that year. And now we can see the cumulative growth over time. So Sylvester Stallone's holding it down. But all of a sudden, no, Tom Cruise breaks onto the scene. He's just growing. So much money, but Christopher Lloyd breaks on. So Christopher Lloyd's going to hold it down. But no, Tom Cruise, you're going to see Tom Cruise, a constant theme, bouncing in and out, in and out, in and out. But I can't do it justice with it as Amir does it. So I think I might stop now before I lose my breath. Tom Hanks coming back in. So the only thing I have to say about this visual is I said the one thing to get right is make sure that when they switch, it really looks violent. Like it's just knocking the person out. And Orlando Bloom comes back to the top because Pirates of the Caribbean, but Tom Hanks breaks him in. And so I just love the MSR guys. They're like, okay, he wants a violent animation. And that's what you get. Okay, so I've been on stage enough, so I'm going to hand it off. And so bear with us as we do the technical changes here. Like we said, we're here to have fun and wanted to show as much as we could. So with that, I'll hand it off to Carlos.
Thank you, Pat.
Yeah, hey! Woo! Will, that's why we get the big buck.
Where's the mouse for this? This is 7? Oh, 6. There we go. Cool. All right. So one of the things that I've been interested in lately is exploring how we can bring the power of machine learning and AI into Excel, right? And expose that to users in a familiar way and enhance that with the power of the grid and the power of Excel. And one of the tools that I've been playing around with is Azure ML. So by now, I'm sure you have heard about Azure ML in one of the sessions. If you haven't, please come see me afterwards. And here I've created a little experiment in Azure ML to detect the language of a particular string, right? So I'm using the Azure ML Studio. I have some data coming in. I have a detect language module that's leveraging the Microsoft Cognitive Services. And then I have an output that will tell me whether a string is in English, Spanish, French, whatever. So how would I use this in Excel, right? So if I go back to Excel here, I can see that I have some data for product feedback, right? It's a product that I am managing. And I want to address this feedback, but I don't have the time and resources to address them all. So I want to see if machine learning can help me narrow this down a little bit. So to use the data in Azure ML, I'm going to go to the Insert tab, and I'm going to insert the Azure Machine Learning add-in. And this is a free add-in that's available in the store. So in here, I can see that I have two web services available for me to use. The language detection one that I showed you earlier, and then a text sentiment analysis, which is available for free as a sample in the add-in. So let me use the text sentiment one first. My input data is going to be in column C. My output data is going to be in column E. And if I click predict, this is going to instantaneously get this data from Excel into the cloud and bring back sentiment. So very quickly, I can see that I have a good distribution of negative, positive, and neutral feedback. Now, this is not enough because I also want to narrow down to just strings that are in English, because I can see some strings here in some weird languages that I don't speak. So I'm going to use that other web service, the language detection one, And again, my input is going to be in column C. My output is column B and column G. And I'm going to click predict, and it's going to do the exact same thing. And see how quickly it goes out to the cloud and brings back the results. Now, since this is Excel, I can layer on conditional formatting, which automatically is being picked up, and I can add additional logic. I have an if statement here, so I can enhance that with the power of Excel and the power of the grid. Now, if I go up here, I already have some slicers that I've created. So if I want to focus my attention on the negative columns for account support, actually account cancels that are in English, and maybe sort this the other way, I can quickly see the ones that I should focus my attention on. What's that? Yes, there are some fun ones in there. Now, product feedback and sentiment analysis is cool and all, but I really think that Excel and machine learning have a lot of potential to deal with real problems and deal with real data, right? So of course I went online to look for such data, and I found some Game of Thrones data. And I found some amazing demographics data for Game of Thrones characters. There's more than 1,000 different Game of Thrones characters. I didn't know that, which is kind of amazing. And I have all sorts of different demographics, right? I have name, the title, the gender, the culture, the house, whether they're married, whether the spouse is alive or not, or their noble age and whatnot. And of course, I was getting a little anxious at the beginning of last season. I wanted to figure out what was going to be the fate of my favorite characters. So I built a survival model using Azure ML in the same way, that I showed you earlier. It's just a little bit more complicated, and I'm using a 2-class boosted decision tree model. And I trained my model using the Game of Thrones data. I did a bunch of transformations, and I scored my model. And then I applied the same, used the same technique with the add-in to create a little scoring column over here. And since this is Excel, I created a little dashboard here to just browse through the fate of my favorite characters. So let's just see what I got as a result. So first, Arya. She's one of my favorite characters, and she was predicted to survive, which is great. I'm happy about that. Then if I look at Ramsay, should not survive, which probably deserves that, which is great. Then the next one, which is Jon Snow, predicted to survive, so which, if anyone saw the last season, that's pretty accurate, I suppose. And then the last one really left my head scratching. And this is straight up from the Azure ML model. That's all I have. Thank you.
Hey, hi. I'm Ankit Saraf. I've been at Microsoft for 9 years. You're doing good, right? Yeah. OK. I'm a PM on the PowerApps team. All of you must have seen the keynote where Amir showed write back from Power BI using PowerApps. We are working on shipping that, but we have write back from dashboards available right now. And we are going to see that. We are going to see PowerApps, and we are going to see some of the flow as well. OK? I'm going to use my laptop and this iPad, so bear with me as I switch between devices. Can we put it somewhere? OK. Can you guys still hear me? OK. So here I have a Power BI report, which is embedded on my dashboard. It's a standard Power BI report with showing the information for my fleet. I think we have shown this demo before as well, Pat, right? Yeah, so this is the standard report we had, where I can see that there is a flight, which is in London right now, the map. I don't know, is it the Wi-Fi? Yeah, the flight ABCK is in London right now, and there's an anomaly on it, and we want to get that fixed. I already have an app for this, for my maintenance centers, where I can go and look at London. I have a bunch of
I like how you included me on the list. It's a good list.
Yeah, you're holding the mic, so I cannot assign it to you right now. But what would be really cool is if you can take that app and embed it in the dashboard here itself. So we are going to do that. The way we go about that is simply take the URL, and I'm going to take this notepad. So just that, to show you guys that I'm not faking it. Essentially, this is the URL we had, and here is the iframe source code I have made for that URL. It's using the same URL. You can see the app ID and the environment name are the same. It's 98ABD, 98ABD, okay? So I'm going to copy the iframe URL.
I'm sure everyone here was expecting you to fake it, too. I think we would trust you.
Nobody trusts demos, right? You know that. Because when you go and try this, it won't work for you. That's what everybody says, but this will work for you. And you can see it load as we are doing this. I can drag it. I can make it size as I want. Okay, wait. Yeah. I can size it as I want. And now we know that the plane right now is in London, so we are going to go to London. So for this PowerApps, I'm using maps, so you can see that I can put a map in there. I can, in fact, put even interesting data on the map using the Bing Maps API, things like I'm putting the number of available, you may not be able to see it, I'm putting the number of available maintenance engineers on the map as well. I can put weather, and this being London, they are just like us, it's raining right now. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign this ticket to myself, so I'm going to select myself, and I'm going to click Assign. As I do that, we'll see a push notification being sent from this app to the maintenance app, actually. The push notification will show up on this device, and it will also show up on this iPad. Okay. So let's do that. Let's click here and switch to number 8. We should see the notification come up. There you go. There was a notification. I click that notification. It's getting the latest version of the app because the app might have changed. So this is a Power App running on my iPad, asking for location. We'll get to it where we are using the location. It's fetching data from the server, showing me all my tasks. I can click View All Tasks. This is a Power App showing all the tasks. I can do color coding based on the status and the priority. You can see the high and active, the low and closed. I can do filtering. All of that is built into the Power App. So let's get into the interesting one. So we just got this ticket right now, so I'm going to select that ticket. And I can get information about this. Right now, you can see those engine visuals. We have shown these visuals before. Those are Power BI visuals. Currently, I am using an image for those, but the capability to embed Power BI visuals inside of Power Apps is coming within the next month. So you'll be able to take Power BI visuals and embed them in an app so that you can show the actual problem with whatever you're dealing with. I can.
Awesome. All right. Good stuff. You could leave a little to mystery there. I think you could have been like, oh, yeah, look at these cool visuals. That you didn't have to.
Yeah, I didn't have to.
But it's coming in the month?
Yeah, it's coming in the month.
All right.
Yeah, the code is already in our test environment.
So you heard James Phillips on stage say, coming in 3 months, right? That was very exciting for his engineering team to hear that deadline set by the VP on stage. So it was very, very exciting. There was a flurry of emails. Flurry is the
going on right now. You could see me doing my email.
Priorities have been set. Well, thank you, Ankit. Oh, you're good. Oh, sorry, my bad.
We are still not done with the cool stuff.
You on the stage.
Okay. So at this point, you can see I'm on a form. Yeah, a lot of people can do form. But if you can see, I'm putting a location here. That is our GPS location. If you search for that GPS location on your devices, you will see WSSC. It's getting live GPS location from this iPad right now. I can do things like take images. So, and not only that, just use the camera. We are able to integrate directly into the native capabilities. So I can take a photo or go from photo library or use any other capabilities on iOS, Android, or Windows. So right now I'm going to take a photo. Will everybody smile for me?
All right.
There is it. And I'm going to do a comment saying, OK, I have fixed the issue, whatever the issue was. Yeah, that's it. That's what developers do. I'm going to resolve it, and I'm going to hit save. What's happening as we are doing a save is it's actually going in the background and starting an approval flow. This is a capability which is now available in Microsoft Flows. Oh, man. Right.
We need a big gong, actually. That's what we need.
The demo gods. Okay, we are going to try. One another one.
I don't know if you get retrials during the power hour.
Just a second.
Okay, let's try. We'll give him one more try.
Just give me one.
One more try.
Okay, let's hit save again. Don't time me again. Oh, yeah.
Okay, that was safe.
So we should see a flow notification come in, which is approval notification in Microsoft Flows saying, load, Wi-Fi. Yeah, saying, hey, Ankit resolved. So you get all this information saying who resolved the ticket, and it's coming requested. Whatever comes output would have come here.
So what we've seen here is an end-to-end flow kicked off from a Power BI dashboard, up to the cloud to some back-end storage system, an app that was working on the storage system, all the way to
an iPad.
And
fetching that data. I'm able to act on that data. As I act on that data, that results in a flow. This flow could have gone to my manager to say, hey, whether this thing is actually fixed or not. And as I hit this approve and confirm, we can go and write back to the data store system and saying, yes, this was fixed and the problem is done. So that's the story of going end to end from measuring the problem to acting on it and automating it.
All right, well, thank you. And so Ankit was a good sport, and he did this all in about 4 days, right? So I was like, last week, I was like, we need a PowerApps demo in the Power Hour, and Ankit was like, all right, I'll do it. So let's give Ankit a big hand. Thank you. And we are super excited by what we're going to be able to combine with all these. So now we're going to bring up Will for something completely different.
I can one-handed. Okay, I'm English, which means I drink tea. Well done. I'm also a big fan of Frappuccinos, the unicorn Frappuccino, in fact. How many of you have had one of these unicorn Frappuccinos from Starbucks? Oh my word, they are immense. They are the sugariest things I have ever had. So I went and grabbed some data because I thought, this has obviously been a real success for Starbucks, and I thought, maybe we can help them out a little bit here, because Seattle's home Starbucks, so we've got a lot of friends there. And I went and found their ingredient list off their website, and I just highlighted how much sugar goes into it. It's listed like 8 times on the ingredients list. It's ridiculous, and it's great actually. You can pull in all of the calorie data and everything that you get for all of the different sizes of frappuccinos as well. And it turns out that even in their smallest unicorn frappuccino, the 12-ounce one without any whipped cream, there's still something like 78 grams of sugar in it or something ridiculous. It's the not 78, a little bit less than that. It's the equivalent of nearly 2 Cadbury's cream eggs. And that's US Cadbury cream eggs. The British ones have got even more sugar in them. So there's this new metric that I've come up with, the CEE, the Cadbury's cream egg equivalent. So the 12-ounce one has 2 cream eggs. The 16-ounce one has 3 and a bit. The 24-ounce one with whipped cream, if you get the full Monty, it's nearly 4 cream eggs worth of sugar. This is unbelievable. But I also realized, well, actually, this is something that we should be using in sales forecasting, right? Because the amount of sugar that we put in, the amount of mango syrup that goes into these, the amount of sprinkles that you get on top, that's going to have an impact on sales. So maybe we could model this out using one of the great new features, which I hope you'll all agree is the best thing you saw in the keynote, because it's my feature, the what-if slicers. Yay! All right, so I created a few of these as well. And actually, one of the things that I wanted to show here was that these slices, you don't have to create a parameter table for it. It can just be any column out of your data. So in this case, where I'd got kind of the grams of sugar that go into the Frappuccino, it came from another bit of the data, and I just bound that to these slices, and I can use that in my formulas. So I can play around with it. I can see, how much sugar I put in, how much of an impact is it going to have in my sales. If I whack that up to the top, you can see it's kind of growing a lot over time, because obviously sugar is quite addictive. The more that you have, the faster you're going to buy more and more and more of these Frappuccinos. Crack analysis, exactly, something like this. More sugar, more sales. It's not that complicated. Mango syrup's an interesting one, though, because mango syrup's kind of difficult, because if you put too much in, you'll start off increasing a few more, and yeah, it's going to go up. And eventually the problem is people don't like it. And if you put too much in, it's going to destroy your sales. So you can actually build some quite complex models behind here. It's just a DAX formula, right? If you've seen the other sessions I've been doing over the last 2 days, I love DAX. DAX is my new best friend, and you can do huge amounts of stuff with it. The formulas you can build behind here could do pretty much anything. So let's find the peak, maybe about 10 milliliters of mango syrup per Frappuccino. And vanilla is kind of the same. You know, there's a kind of a good correlation between the amount of syrup that you get. And, you know, we could potentially get some massive sales out of this. So I think, you know, the Starbucks guys, they're onto a winner. I hope they bring this back as a permanent fixture. But I thought to myself, if we can do this for unicorn frappuccinos, where else could we do this? Maybe we could do this just for unicorns. And it turns out, so I'm stealing from Matt Masson a little bit here, but I've also got 2 young daughters. And they're only 2, but they're just kind of getting into My Little Pony, and they're just kind of getting into to unicorns. And they love them, and I thought, I wonder how I can kind of identify the best unicorn. What can I use to help them understand how great unicorns are and what makes up the best unicorn? And it turns out we've also got some very talented designers in the Power BI team, so a huge shout out to Sarah, who drew these unicorns for us. It's amazing. And you know, I did the same thing. So I took the same bit of data, bound it to one of these slices, and I can play around with things like, you know, how big the tail is. So you can have maybe a multicolored tail with sparkles and everything. And, you know, I wanted to call this horniness, but I think horn length is probably more appropriate. You know, the bigger the horn, obviously the better the unicorn is, and you know how fancy the hooves are as well. And it turns out, you know, do you know what peak unicorn is? You reach peak unicorn, you get a pegacorn, and they grow wings, and they're fantastic. So it turns out this is the best type of unicorn that you can build. And it's really, really easy to use those what-if slicers to analyze all of those and find the best unicorns. And that's it.
Oh, no, I'm good. Thank you, though. It's acting like it's going to start showing up. There we go. Hi, everyone. I'm Johnny Thomas. I'm a program manager on the Excel team. And I get the fun opportunity that every so often I work with our education team, which means I get to work on goofy and silly projects that we then stick in front of kids and teachers and students, and I get left with a warm, fuzzy feeling. So I'm going to show you a little bit of that. How many people here have heard of Microsoft's Hacking STEM initiative? Oh, a couple people. Oh, they're from Microsoft. They don't count. That's why I'm here. How many people have heard of a flex sensor? All right. How many people have heard of IoT? There we go. All right, we're going to start there. We're going to build up. We're going to learn all those things by the time I'm done. So IoT, Internet of Things. Means there's lots of devices floating around. Some of them are big and bulky. Some of them are small and cheap and really easy to use. Hacking STEM is Microsoft's initiative to start thinking about how we democratize STEM education. STEM being science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So what is STEM? Microsoft's Hacking STEM? I like this. Lesson plans, they're free. That's what it comes down to. We're working on different types of lesson plans teachers can do with middle school students, start playing around in the world of IoT, start playing around in STEM, and get an idea of how to get started. So we have things like Arduino boards or different microcontrollers that are really, really cheap, really, really easy to use. Now, when I went to school and we learned a new science lesson, usually involved the teacher going into a back supply closet, bringing out some sort of giant $300 machine that maybe measures temperature or measures a frequency of a wave, something really, really expensive. We didn't really understand what we were seeing. Then that machine would get put back in the closet for another year to the next class. We wanted to change that. We wanted to start thinking about how we can use these cheap devices that float around everywhere, that are programmable, so you can put new code on there, think about new lessons. And this is something where feasibly every kid in the class could be holding on to one, playing around with it and learning how to do more than just learn the concept of temperature, but start thinking about computer science, building things, plugging in probes of their own to come up with ideas on how to do interesting things and actually get to the fundamentals of learning the science behind a task. So we get to the flex sensor. This is just one example. These are various different flex sensors. What they basically do as you bend them is they tell you how much they're bending. They can go anywhere from about $10 to hundreds of dollars. This is my Brad Pitt moment. What's in the box? I've got my own little flex sensors here. For those of you who can't see what I'm holding up, it's basically a little glove that looks like that. And I'm going to try and talk and put it on at the same time. Maybe I'll chew gum too. What this is, what you're looking at in terms of each flex sensor, is a piece of copper tape with a little bit of insulating tape, then a little bit more copper tape. And that is how we make a flex sensor with a little bit of tape, some cardboard, and a whole lot more tape to keep it hold it together. This thing, each one of these sensors, costs about 25 cents to make. If you buy in bulk, actually you can get it for under a penny, but we tell the teachers 25 cents because that's about the classroom cost. But now, each student can be building their own set of flex sensors, start to learn the real science behind what they're doing when they bend their finger. They're changing the resistance of the insulating material. They're getting two wires closer together, and they're increasing the strength, they're increasing the current that actually runs through them. But we took it a step further, right? Because all of these little IoT devices floating around, they all do something really interesting, and that is what we're all here for. They collect data, right? And now we can figure out how to take that data and actually inject it into common data tools like Excel. So that instead of just having a static science lesson that stops at STEM, we bring data science into it. What I'm showing you here is our add-in for Excel. It's free, it's out there. It's called Project Cordoba. That lets you connect a device. And so what you're seeing there is as I move my hand, the numbers in the cells are changing, right? And it's just straight from that add-in, all it's doing is taking whatever little information this little device can pop out and dropping it into our cells. But this is Excel, right? So we can do more than that. It's cool, you can actually see as I grip the microphone, it changes. We can start hooking up formulas, right? We've still got the Excel engine running. So as we start doing calculations, whatever we want, maybe we're doing the instantaneous measurement of velocity, we can see all of that getting pumped into Excel. We can take it another step and start playing around with visuals, right? Because the underlying chart is just tied up to more formulas coming in off our devices. So that's a plain old XY chart, XY scatter plot, but the underlying data is coming off my hand. So this is one lesson. We've got a ton out there, but I can only fit one thing in my box at a time. Normally I'm walking around with a ton of different demos to show off. But we've got things in each of these lessons. It's got a OneNote notebook with everything you can need, the workbook that we've built to customize it, all the materials lists, Amazon links, everything you'll see. We got how to make seismographs with paper cups. Sorry, I'll make this more easier. Seismographs with paper cups, our robot hands, wind speed, our windmills made out of an old oatmeal canister, another wind speed measure with a paper cup. We like paper cups because we mostly build this by rating the work cafeteria. But our goal is to make everything cheap and disposable and available at home. And the idea here is that if you can get the kids building and thinking and working on their own, they're way more engaged and way more attracted to the data. And I'm going to leave you with one last piece because this is sort of my new favorite YouTube video. The end of this session actually also involves building one of these robot hands. That's a straw that's been cut in a certain spot so that as a string gets pulled through it, it bends like a finger. So what we've got going on at the Microsoft retail stores now is kids are building these little sensors, and they're hooking them up to the robot hands. And this girl's reaction is my favorite thing in the world. So you can go online, grab these yourselves. If you're near a Microsoft retail store, every Saturday in the summer, we've got STEM Saturdays. Go bring in your kids. You can build this stuff yourself. That's my demo.
All right, hello. My name is Matthew Bremer. I'm from Microsoft Research. And yesterday's keynote, you might have seen a demo of a new custom visual that my team has been working on. It's all about timeline data. So this was in the National Trust demo that you saw yesterday. Which number is this? Number 6? All right. So this custom visual that you saw yesterday is called Timeline Storyteller. I'm going to give a demo that's relevant to something that's happening this week. So is there any golf fans in the room? Anyone who plays golf and follows the US Open? So I'm going to show a little timeline story about the history of the US Open. So last year, we had Dustin Johnson win the US Open. He won a fair bit of money, winning by a margin of 3 strokes. But let's compare some of his other performance in the past here. We have some of his placements previously. He was cut once in one of his appearances. And in the past few years, he's had 3 top 10 finishes. Let's compare him now to some of the other US Open champions over the past several years. Someone else that comes to mind who had a very similar first run of experiences in the US Open was Jim Furyk. Also won in his 9th appearance. And he was also the runner-up last year. And one of the things that I noticed looking into this data set was that they were both about the same age. So this is now not a chronological time of their life in golf, but how old they were. So they're both around the same age when they won the US Open. And now I'm going to pull in some more people, some of the biggest names in golf history. So we have people like Ben Hogan, Tiger Woods, Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus. And you see now we can start comparing some of their performance over their entire US Open career, how many times they placed in the tournament, how many times they won. One of the things I discovered here was that Ben Hogan also won in his 9th US Open appearance, despite a bit of a rocky start by a few cuts early on in his US Open career. This timeline visual can do a few more things, and let's look at not only their victories, but let's look at everyone who's ever won the US Open. So there's been 85 unique winners in the tournament to date. Some people have won more than once. And let's look at all of their timelines all at once. So we have some people here who won multiple times in the tournament, people like Willie Anderson at the turn of the last century. And let's bring in some of their other performances in the tournament here. We can compare who had a lot of cuts, who placed often, who had the best record. So let's look at this in a different way. And that's what the power of this custom visual that we're designing. It's going to be available soon in the next few weeks into in the store, is to look at time in multiple representations. So now we were looking at time radially, and now we're able to compare everyone along a common axis here chronologically, and we could start to make some assessments about who had the best US Open record over their whole career. What we're looking at here is a presentation mode, but I can also select different representations of time, different time scales. So instead of looking at this chronologically here, I can say toggle this just to look at a sequential time scale to see all of those consecutive US Open appearances regardless of when they started. I could filter this down to just look at some of the most prolific golfers here, people who had more than 30 appearances in the US Open tournament. We have people like Jack Nicklaus, who appeared more than over 4 decades of his life. So the question now is, who might triumph this year in the tournament? So let me just skip ahead here and look at some of the more recent appearances by people in this tournament. People like Jim Furyk, Ernie Els. So who might win this year? Maybe one of these, but maybe we'll have a new champion this year. So this is a custom visual that you'll see available in the store in the next few weeks. Handles any time-oriented data. What we've been looking at here is just straight from this workbook, and you'll find more information now at timelinestoryteller.com/#PowerBI. You'll find more information there. So with that, thank you very much. Yeah.
Number 6. Hi, I'm Paul Sanders on the Power BI desktop team. This is going to be the last demo. If you think it's last, this is going to be the climax. Please adjust your expectations. It's going last because it didn't matter if we didn't have time for this demo. So with that, we're building myself up here. So we've seen quick insights in today and in the keynote of trying to answer very specific questions in your data. Why did a number go up or down? Or what's the difference between two subgroups in my data? So this is actually a prototype. We think there are more questions we can help with, and it's just a prototype of that. So here I've got the good old morbid Titanic data set, much beloved to data scientists. And this is showing the all the passenger information, including whether they survived or died. So this is showing the number of passengers by what their outcome was, and it's about 38% of passengers actually survived on the Titanic. So the question here is, whenever I'm looking at a visual, I'm seeing a particular pattern in my data, the question is then, do I see the same pattern if I looked at particular subgroups, if I apply particular filters? And I could just go and do that manually myself, go and apply dozens of filters and see what happens. But why can't the system do that automatically for me? So I'm just a PM. I don't have the skills to actually do prototyping in Power BI itself, but I do have the skills necessary to just produce a really ugly version of Power BI. So if we go to that and looking at the rebuild that visual again, we've got 1,300 passengers, and by survival, then just with one click, let's go and run the hundreds of queries necessary, like Quick Insights does, to go and explore what happens if I looked at different subgroups. So as we would expect, it's now just ranking the most important factors coming out first. And we see that the thing that most impacts you, we sort of know this data set well, is actually the gender. So what we're seeing here is for females, most females survived on the Titanic. The teal-colored bars are the normal visual. The black line is showing what the overall distribution is between survived and died. So the black line is the overall population, where most people didn't survive, but for females, most did survive. And then for males, correspondingly, worse, of course. So that's probably no surprise. The second factor here is actually probably a little bit more surprising, is the number of siblings and spouses. So people who had 4 siblings or spouses on the boat, probably siblings. I don't think we're talking about the fate of the Mormons on the Titanic. So those who had 4 siblings were much less likely to survive than those who just had 1, which does raise an interesting question, because the next factor is the passenger class. Well known, if you're in first class, much better outcome than if you're in third class. So maybe those 2 factors are actually one and the same thing. We probably expect people in third class more likely to be emigrating, more likely to have all their family with us. So maybe we should present this in a different way to show whether these are the same factor or different factor. It actually turns out they are different. Certainly all the people with 4 siblings were in third class, but it was significantly worse if you also had 4 siblings with you. And then finally, number of children, and then one here that I wouldn't have expected. I think if I was doing my own data analysis here, I wouldn't have even looked at this. The port of embarkation had a significant impact on your survival, and you had much more chance of surviving if you got on the boat at Cherbourg than if you got on the boat at Southampton. So maybe those French gentlemen weren't quite as gentlemanly as their British counterparts, or maybe the French women were just more worth saving, one or the other. So just a very quick demo prototype. We're always going to be looking at how we can apply quick insights just to make it easier to uncover these interesting facets in your data.
So Paul actually showed this at one of our team meetings recently, and you also had, similar to what Will did, what was it? You started defining things in terms of other shapes, and you came up with the big heart metric. So although it went down a path that we decided to draw the line at for this event. So here's what I'd say is, the original plan for this session, we were going to bring it back this year, was to actually include a large portion of community-sourced demos like this, right? We got some advice that we needed to review all of them first, and so we didn't have time to do that. But we're going to do a little more planning next year. And so now that you saw the analytics competition, and now that you saw this, we want to get a bunch of feedback about how to do this again. And we actually want to open up. Now, if everybody loves the Microsoft engineers doing this, we'll keep doing it with the Microsoft engineers. But we actually would like to do a kind of a community thing where we get the gong show going for people from the community to come demo. Trick there is it can't turn into a big salesy thing. That we might turn into that accidentally, but we're not trying to. But so we want to do that. So we want to, again, to take feedback on that. So get active on the community, get active in the power user groups, email anybody you see and tell them your opinion. That's why we all like working on the product teams we're working on, is because we've established really good connections with the community. So please turn these events into your guys' events. I think we're at time. I wanted to take this opportunity to thank everybody for coming to this conference. It's a really big deal for our product team and the product teams here locally to get to meet you guys, get face-to-face, and show off what we're doing. We have a huge backlog of things to do. We know that you want to change access labels. We know that you want to change formatting colors, and we're doing everything we can as fast as we can to get all those little things done, because we have a bunch of fun stuff we want to do. Those are fun things, but even additional things. And seeing you guys and hearing your priority list really energizes us. So thank you guys for coming to this conference. Hopefully you enjoy the keynote coming up next, and looking forward to getting all the feedback. And if you were a contest entrant to the contest, come see me, and we'll get you the grab bag prizes for upstairs. And if you're not here, don't worry if you knew you're not here. So thank you very much.